We're back. I'm Jay Weidner, Smoke and Mirrors, you know all that. We're heard everywhere. We're heard nowhere. Who knows? Anyway, we're here with Clif High, and we're talking about some very serious stuff here. And I think you guys should be listening, because it may get down to surviving here. So the Nazis were really into this, and I think it's what I think happened is, I'm trying to remember his name. I think his name was La Plagnon. He was a French researcher. He went to Mexico in 1890s, and I think he found the long count calendar and brought it back and told his Freemasonic buddies, the real guys, not the guys that are in these lodges, but the real guys, and they got a little panicked because their numbers told them that the thing wasn't going to happen until 2440, around there, and so they couldn't reconcile the two. And the entire 20th century, that sounds crazy, is a direct result of their fear of what is coming.
Their fear that they were wrong in their math.
Exactly, and it went into a panic state, created the Nazis, the Zionists, everything was a creation by them for an end game. There was no Cold War. They were puppet mastering both sides to conquer the hyperdimensional aspects of the saucer technology, and I call it Project Good. Good stands for Get Out of Dodge, and I think that I know it sounds crazy, but I think they're abandoning the Earth. They're so dang afraid of what's going on.
Well, there's the other issue, though, too. If they're just planning on trucking out in space, that doesn't do them any good, especially in anything that's electromagnetic, because the level of magnetics that we're talking about is just going to be huge. No,
I think that they're burying themselves on Mars, actually. It's the only thing that they can do. There's a lot of proof of a lot of weird things going on Mars, and I think that it's been going on for like maybe the last 40 years or so.
Well, and also, unlike Earth, Mars, if you were going to, if you wanted to tunnel in and be underground when this occurred, Mars would be the place to go. Its relationship to the sun relative to Earth is slightly further out, so it may not be impacted as seriously. Plus, it doesn't appear to have the tectonic issues that we do.
It doesn't. There's no tectonic plates. There's no magnetic field. At least I don't think there is. And, I think that's what's going on. And I think it's pretty obvious, actually, to anyone watching. And furthermore, the texts, the ancient Indian texts say that the elites escape and go somewhere. And they actually name the planet, which is Mahar, which is pretty close to Mars. So I don't know, I think that might be the explanation for a lot of what's going on. Everything from flying saucers to
all the other goofy stuff,
Yeah, all the conspiracies could be united. This is the grand unified theory of conspiracies,
right?
You see. And basically they're just getting out of Dodge and doing everything they can to get out. And, I don't know, do you think that they can be safe underground?
There's issues in many different levels. If you're talking multiple generations, no, I don't think that's possible. And then you may have to, because who knows how long it's going to take here. There's some indications that, volcanism should be extraordinary for 30 or 40 years after this event. So coming back in that period of time wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. So there's all of those kind of things. Plus, if I'm correct, humans right now are responding in the way that Gurdjieff referred to with the sololuneus, right? We're getting a little wacky from this extra input from the sun. And when that magnetic wave goes through, we may indeed find that the 6 or 7% of the populace that's electromagnetic sensitive could be in a world of hurt, trying to maybe even experiencing this thing as a gravity wave, or it may be so severe that we all feel it that way. And it's going to cause, dislocations mentally for a great number of people, just, I'm assuming, but it may be so large that it could be virtually everyone, no matter where you are.
I think so. Actually, I think, I don't know. I think, I'll tell you what. You're one of the few guys that I've ever heard who has noticed the change in the color of the sun. And I'm an amateur photographer, and I've been photographing the sun for about 45 years, and I'm telling you, I have had to change my filters because the sun's getting so bright. And I'm adding now 3 neutral density filters on to get good images of the sun, sunspots and things. And the sun has gone from a yellow from when I was a kid to a very bright white right now.
Right, and as I'm fond of saying, Superman would have no powers if he showed up today. He'd be in a white sun, just like his home planet. So it's like, No, I did a whole series of sun experiments here in the Northwest for, well over a year and a half in the 1999 through 2000 period. Drove my wife crazy. I'm sure she thought I was just absolutely nuts. I had these, Secchi disc kind of things sitting out there to judge whiteness and color, and then also various different types of gnomon and various different chunks of plywood with nails stuck in them for alignment and all this other issue, as well as getting out with the sextant, because I was convinced that the sun was behaving oddly in other ways, not just simply color and intensity and hue, but also in the various different kinds of energy that were coming from it. And indeed, the Russians were speaking then of the actinic rays going up to the point where they were finding issues with livestock in Siberia and other areas where they were attempting to build an economy based on basically reindeer herding, and they were having issues relative to the poor reindeer and even the people because of the actinic rays. So things were changing even in 1999 that were at a noticeable level. And then you start looking outside the U.S. mainstream media, the propagandistic press, and you find all kinds of corroborating information that things just are not right. And no one discusses it here because, of course, then it would break the illusion that, we all live in the wonderful world of, Freemasonry America, the 33rd or 32nd degree Scottish Rite version of it all. And, we're not to criticize. Bush isn't a moron, the dollar isn't going to die. Everything's going to be quite nice and so on. So we just don't hear it, and it doesn't exist. Unfortunately, it does exist, and we've got to start facing it.
It may be the solar lunatics. Who knows? Because if they're all acting, then they should all get Academy Awards. That's all I got to say. They're doing the best job I've ever seen. Central Casting's doing a great job, and it is truly one of the most amazing things to watch, the stupidity of the American people. But that said, I have to say, about 25 years ago, I was writing a book about the moon, and working with Hoagland on his early moon stuff. And I was talking to a lot of upper-level NASA people, and one of the guys told me, he said, there is something really going on, and we're terrified. And I said, what is it? And he said, well, we've had a group up at the North Pole for 5 years. They were studying. He wouldn't really tell me what they were studying, but he said that the sun is getting hotter and it's exponential, and he said we're terrified. And I've never talked to the guy again, but I'll never forget it. And this was before I'd really gotten into the Henday work, so. It was like, as I got into the Henday work, the bead of sweat worked its way down my brow as I realized that NASA was looking into this, and there was no doubt about it.
Yeah. And I've had confirmation at various different levels from all different kinds of people, especially as I've gotten a certain amount of infamy here. Other people say, oh, yeah, you're maybe a nut job, but I think I can trust you, and by the way, I know this. It's like, okay, yeah. That's interesting. And tons of money and stuff going into the South Pole because they do suspect that in 2012 the outburst will be south-facing. If we're very lucky and it was magnetically positive or north aligned, then it wouldn't be quite so terrible for us. The pole flip would be maybe not even 180 degrees internally, and the external crustal shift might be very small indeed. However, everything seems to point to the longer cycle that we're in, this 11,800 some odd year cycle, as being more intense, and it kind of makes sense because when this occurs, it perturbs the orbits of the planets, which change the cycle for the next time around. Thus, all of the lack of precision within the precession, which always annoyed me.
Me too.
It shouldn't be that weird. It shouldn't be that irregular. It should be very, very damn precise. I like my mathematics to work out that way. Well, it does work out that way if you know what's going on, and that every so often you get a new orbital period, and your angle's kicked around, and your precession changes, and you get this well-done moment, and that's when you start working on your boat.
Yes, the boat with a lot of padding.
Well, no,
maybe that's going to. Go ahead.
I say there's the rub. If you look at some of the historical literature, you find out that people in wicker boats, that is to say, the reed boats, survived by coating them in pitch and other things. And you see records of this even in Lake Titicaca, where they revere these boats for having saved the humankind, and it probably did.
And the boats in Egypt that are stone near the pyramids.
Yeah,
are
and
like
then
a
look
religion.
at what was it? Abedos, the 12 Viking-style boats that were carefully disassembled and stored with reverence to give us a big clue, and they were in the middle of the damn desert.
And also, Isis is always standing on a crescent moon, and the crescent moon is called, in Egyptian, is called a ba'ark, which is the same word for boat. And
of course, I was going to say also the Russian word for boat is Baydar, or as in a small boat is Badarka. And the Inuit know their boats as Baydar from the Russians, but before that they also had a word that was Adar, as in Adark. And so it just goes on and on and on. And being a small boat person, I'm just, a boat nut. Have been all my life. The universe just made me this way. It's my natural response to things. I've been building boats for so long that periodically I have these, reduction of the fleet kind of moves where I give boats away because I've got too many of them here and I'm afraid the wife's going to hit me with one of them. But in any event, knowing about boats as I do, I've been fascinated by it all. And then you find out that, it does kind of make sense. It is possible to make little tiny boats that are unsinkable and self-righting. And basically, if you're in the right spot and your karma is good, you come through this kind of stuff, and a lot of the ancient myths make sense under those circumstances.
Dang, I like that. That's really good. Oh, we only scratched the surface. It's too bad. We were talking to Clif High. Go to Half Past Human, get the you-know-what scared out of you, and start building your boat. And I think you need to start a company for us so we can build our own boats, and you can supply the plans. I'll buy them from you.
No. Buy the plans like right now. Philip Bolger, Advanced Sharpie, AS29.
Oh, all right. I will. I'll check it out. You check it out, too, folks. Hey, thanks, Cliff. Been good talking to you.
Okay. We'll do it again. Bye.
All right, man. Bye. Thanks for listening. I'm Jay Weidner, Smoke and Mirrors. We'll see you tomorrow night.